There was a day I almost gave up on everything, my dreams, my purpose, even myself. Maybe you've been there too, that moment when the weight of life feels unbearable, and you quietly ask yourself, what's the point of going on? Today, I want to take you into that story, the darkest day of my life, and the unexpected moments that changed everything. My hope is that as you listen, you'll see a reflection of your own struggles, and maybe discover the same light that pulled me back when I was ready to let go. I don't even know where to begin, but maybe the best place is the moment I almost gave up on everything. And when I say everything, I mean life itself, my dreams, my hope, the belief that maybe one day things would finally work out for me. Because let me be honest with you, I wasn't always strong. I wasn't always the person you see today trying to tell this story. There was a time I was broken, shattered, completely empty inside. I remember waking up one morning, staring at the ceiling, and feeling this heavy weight pressing down on my chest. Not physical, but emotional. You know that kind of heaviness where even breathing feels like a task. That's how it felt. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to face the world. And the thought that kept circling in my head was, maybe I should just give up. You see, I had tried. I had really, really tried. I had worked hard, sacrificed sleep, pushed through nights of hunger, silenced my doubts, only to be met with failure after failure. Do you know what it feels like to give your best, and still be told you're not good enough? To pour your soul into something, and still watch it fall apart in front of you. That was my life. I felt invisible, unseen, like no matter what I did, no one cared. No one noticed. And when people did notice, it was only to criticize, to laugh, or to remind me that I wasn't measuring up. There was this one day I'll never forget. I had been working on something I thought would finally change my life. I put my all into it. Every ounce of energy, every drop of hope I had left. And when it failed, when it collapsed right in front of me, I swear I felt something inside me die. I remember whispering to myself, what's the point anymore? And maybe you've been there too. Maybe you've had nights where you cried so silently because you didn't want anyone to hear. Maybe you've had mornings where getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. Maybe you've had moments where you felt like the world was moving forward and you were stuck in the same spot, running but not getting anywhere. That was me, completely drained, completely hopeless, and honestly, I was ready to quit. For months before that day, the signs had been building. I had been carrying disappointment after disappointment. Failures I didn't talk about. Silent battles I fought alone because I didn't want to be a burden. On the outside, people thought I was doing okay. I knew how to smile when people asked how I was doing. I knew how to say, I'm fine, with enough conviction that they believed me. But inside, I was unraveling. It was exhaustion, but not just physical exhaustion. It was soul exhaustion, that deep kind of tired where even sleep doesn't help, where no amount of rest makes the weight lighter. I would lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, my thoughts racing so fast I couldn't catch a single one. Memories of mistakes, voices of criticism, flashes of everything I'd lost and everything I hadn't achieved, it all played in my mind like a broken record I couldn't turn off. The day it all came crashing down wasn't dramatic on the surface. That's the strange thing. There wasn't some huge, loud explosion. It was just, ordinary. A regular day. But sometimes it's the ordinary days that break us, because when the quiet days feel empty too, it's like the final straw. I remember sitting alone in my room. The sun was coming through the window, but it didn't feel warm. It just felt like another day I didn't want to face. I sat there thinking about all the times I had tried and failed, all the opportunities that slipped through my hands, all the times I gave my best and it still wasn't enough. And then the thought came, that quiet, dangerous thought, what if I just stop trying? What if I just give up? I didn't cry at first. I just sat in silence, staring at nothing, letting that thought roll around in my head. And the more I entertained it, the more it seemed to make sense. Why keep going when nothing was working? Why keep showing up when it felt like nobody even cared? Eventually, the tears came. And once they started, they didn't stop. I broke down in a way I never had before. My whole body shook with sobs I didn't even recognize as mine. It was like all the months of silent suffering came pouring out in one uncontrollable flood. I felt ashamed of my own weakness. I felt like a failure. I felt like the world would be better without me. And in that moment, I genuinely believed it. But here's where the story begins to shift. Because even as I sat there drowning in my own thoughts, something inside me, a tiny spark I didn't expect, refused to die. It wasn't loud. It wasn't powerful. It was just a whisper. A question, really, what if you hold on a little longer? I don't know where that thought came from. Maybe it was God. Maybe it was the part of me that still had a little bit of fight left. But I heard it, and it made me pause. That pause was enough to stop me from making a permanent decision in a temporary storm. That pause saved me, and maybe that's the first lesson hidden inside this story. Sometimes you don't need a huge breakthrough or a lightning bolt miracle. Sometimes all you need is a pause. One tiny moment to breathe. 1 second to stop and reconsider. I wish I could tell you that after that pause, everything became clear, that I stood up, wiped my tears, and instantly turned my life around. But the truth is, healing didn't come instantly. Strength didn't return in a rush. It came slowly, in small pieces, almost unnoticeable at first. What happened next was unexpected. In the days after my breakdown, people I hadn't spoken to in weeks or months suddenly reached out. A friend checked in. Someone sent me a message out of the blue saying they were thinking about me. I stumbled across a book that spoke words into my pain as though it was written just for me. One by one, these small moments began to add up. It was as if life was reminding me, you are not alone. You are not forgotten. You still matter. Looking back, I realize how close I came to letting go right before things began to shift. And isn't that how it often happens? The night feels darkest just before the dawn. The pressure feels unbearable right before the release. We feel like giving up right before the breakthrough. I won't pretend the journey after that day was easy. It wasn't. There were still setbacks. Still moments of doubt. Still days when I felt like I was slipping backwards. But the difference was, now I knew something I didn't know before. I wasn't powerless. I had survived my lowest point. And if I could survive that, I could survive anything. That's the second lesson I want to share. Survival is proof of strength. If you are listening to this right now, it means you have already survived your hardest days. You might not give yourself credit for it, but the fact that you are still here, still breathing, still searching for hope, means you are stronger than you think. There's a strange thing that happens when you hit rock bottom. At first, it feels like the end. But over time, you realize that rock bottom can also be the beginning. It strips away everything unnecessary until all you have left is the choice, to stay down, or to rise again. That day I almost gave up. I didn't know it then, but something new was being born inside me. A deeper sense of purpose. A resilience I never thought I had. A compassion for others that came from knowing what it feels like to be on the edge. Even now, as I share this, I can feel the weight of that memory. But I don't carry it with shame anymore. I carry it as a reminder. Because if I had given up that day, I would have missed all the beautiful moments that came after. The laughter, the friendships, the second chances, the opportunities I never saw coming, the love I thought I'd never deserve. And maybe that's what I want you to take from this more than anything. Your story isn't over yet. No matter how dark it feels right now, no matter how heavy the burden is, this is not the end. You don't know what tomorrow could bring. You don't know what doors could open. You don't know what healing is waiting for you. The day I almost gave up could have been the end of my story. But instead, it became the turning point. It became the day that taught me to fight differently, to live more honestly, to love more deeply, and to hold on even when I don't feel like it. If you are listening to this and you feel like you're at your breaking point, I want you to know this: I understand. I've been there. I know how heavy it feels. But I also know this: you are stronger than your pain. You are bigger than your fear. You have more inside you than you realize. And the fact that you're here, listening, means you haven't given up yet. That matters. That's proof that deep down, you still want to live. Hold on, even if it's just for one more day, one more hour, one more breath, because sometimes that one extra step is all it takes to get to the place where everything begins to change. One morning, after a night of endless tears, I picked up my phone and stumbled across a random video. It wasn't anything extraordinary, just a short clip of someone sharing their struggle. They spoke about feeling worthless, about wanting to give up, about how life had beaten them down. But they also spoke about choosing to try again, one small step at a time. I don't know why, but in that moment, something inside me shifted. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't like I suddenly became happy. But for the first time in a long time, I felt less alone. And that's when I realized, maybe my pain wasn't useless. Maybe my struggle wasn't meaningless. Maybe, just maybe, someone else out there was feeling the same thing I was feeling, and if they could take one more step, then maybe I could too. But let me be real with you, it wasn't easy. The next day, I woke up and the same heaviness was still there. I didn't suddenly feel motivated to jump out of bed and conquer the world. But I remembered that video, and I told myself, just one step. That's all. So I got up. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed to. And that's where things started to shift. When you're drowning in hopelessness, the idea of climbing the whole mountain feels impossible. But sometimes, the climb isn't about the mountain. Sometimes, it's just about taking the next step. So I began to focus on one small thing each day. One day, it was simply taking a shower when I didn't feel like it. Another day, it was eating a proper meal instead of skipping. Some days, it was stepping outside just to feel the sun on my face. Tiny steps, almost invisible, but each one mattered. And here's the truth I want to share with you today. The day I almost gave up was the day I unknowingly planted the seed for the life I have now. Because giving up would have ended everything. But taking one step, even when I didn't feel like it, kept me in the game. I started journaling. Nothing fancy, just messy scribbles of how I felt. At first, it was pages of anger, sadness, confusion. But slowly, I noticed something changing. My words shifted from pain to reflection, from reflection to small realizations. One of those realizations was this: I was not my failures. For so long, I had defined myself by everything I couldn't achieve, by everything I didn't have, by every rejection and every mistake. But the more I wrote, the more I realized, those failures didn't define me. They were just experiences, lessons, steps on the path. And then came the moment that truly changed me. I remember sitting in a cafe one afternoon, staring at people laughing and talking around me. I felt disconnected, like I was in a bubble that no one could see through. But then, this little girl, she couldn't have been more than 5 years old, ran up to her mom with the biggest smile on her face, holding a melted ice cream cone. Her dress was messy, her hands sticky, but she didn't care. She was just happy. And it hit me. I had been chasing perfection. Chasing the idea that I needed to have everything figured out before I could be happy. But happiness isn't about everything being perfect. It's about finding joy in the messy, imperfect moments. That little girl didn't care about her messy hands. She was just enjoying her ice cream. And I thought, what if I stopped waiting for perfection? What if I allowed myself to just live, right here, right now, in the middle of the mess? That moment broke me open. From then on, I started to look for small pieces of joy. The sound of rain on my window. The smell of coffee in the morning. The smile of a stranger. The laughter of a friend. Slowly, I started to rebuild, not from a place of pressure, but from a place of grace. But let me be honest with you. Even now, I still have days when I feel like giving up. Days when the old thoughts creep back in. Days when the weight feels heavy. The difference now, I know how to respond. I remind myself of that night I almost gave up, and what I would have missed if I had. The friendships, the growth, the love, the moments of laughter, the lessons I've been able to share with people like you. And that's why I'm telling you this story. Because maybe, just maybe, you're standing where I once stood. Maybe you're staring at your ceiling at night, wondering if it's worth it. Maybe you're tired of trying. Maybe you feel invisible. If that's you, hear me when I say this: you are not alone. And this is not the end of your story. You don't have to climb the whole mountain today. Just take one step. Just breathe. Just keep going a little longer. Because you never know, the day you almost give up might just be the day before your breakthrough. One evening, I was sitting outside, drained. My phone buzzed, and I looked at a message from a friend. It was simple. It read, "Hey, I just wanted to say, you inspire me. I don't know how you keep going sometimes, but I really look up to you." I froze. Me, inspiring someone. How? I was barely holding myself together. I was drowning in my own battles, yet here was someone who saw light in me when all I saw was darkness. And that's when I realized something powerful. Sometimes, the reason you keep going isn't for yourself, it's for the people silently watching you, hoping you won't give up, because your survival gives them hope too. That message replayed in my head all night. It was like a crack of light breaking into a very dark room. And slowly, step by step, I started doing little things differently. I began journaling again. At first, it was messy. Just scribbles of anger, fear, and hopelessness. But over time, those scribbles turned into clarity. I started walking outside again. Just 10 minutes a day. At first, it felt pointless, but then I noticed something. The fresh air didn't just clear my lungs, it began to clear my mind. And then, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I prayed. I don't know what you believe in, but in that moment, I whispered, "God, I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. If there's still something left for me in this life, show me." And believe it or not, little by little, the signs started showing up. One day, I stumbled across an old notebook filled with goals I had written years ago. Reading it hurt at first, because I felt like I had failed the version of me who once believed all those dreams were possible. But then another thought hit me: what if it's not too late? What if the fact that I'm still here means there's still time to rewrite my story? And that thought lit something inside me again. It wasn't a blazing fire. Not yet. But it was a spark. And sometimes, a spark is all you need. You see, I had to learn that pain has two options: it can break you, or it can build you. And the choice is always ours. I started treating every hardship as a lesson. Every rejection became redirection. Every failure became preparation. And slowly, my life started to change. Here's the lesson I want you to take from this part of my story. Never underestimate the impact of the small things. It could be one message, one conversation, one memory, or even one decision to get out of bed when you don't feel like it. Those small things, they add up. And they might just be the reason you don't give up when everything inside you says you should. And if you're listening to this right now, I want you to remember something. You are not alone in this. You are not weak for feeling tired. And you are not a failure just because your journey looks different from others. The truth is, the very fact that you're still here means there's still a reason for your story. So don't give up yet. Because the day I almost gave up was the day I discovered that my life still had purpose. And if that's true for me, it's true for you too. That became my mantra, one day at a time. And little by little, things began to change. I started taking small steps. Reaching out to people, writing down my thoughts, rebuilding my faith, my courage, my belief in myself. And then, doors started opening. Slowly. Not all at once, but enough to remind me that giving up would have cost me everything I was about to step into. Here's the lesson I want you to take from this. When you feel like giving up, it's not a sign to quit, it's a sign you're closer to your turning point. You don't need to win every battle today. Just win today. Survive today. Tomorrow will come with new strength. Sometimes, the smallest signs, a text, a smile, a reminder, can be the reason you hold on. Pay attention to those little things. They matter. If you're watching this and you feel like you're at your breaking point, please hear me, don't quit yet. You don't know how close you are to your breakthrough. You don't know the lives you're meant to impact, the doors that are about to open, the version of you that's waiting just on the other side of this pain. I almost gave up, but I didn't, and my life changed forever. And so will yours, if you hold on just a little longer. The day I almost gave up became the day everything changed. And maybe, just maybe, this moment right here is your reminder not to give up either. So if you're listening to this right now and you feel like quitting, I just want to tell you this: don't. I know you're tired. I know you're hurting. I know it feels like no one sees you, like no one cares. But you are closer than you think. And if you stop now, you'll never know what could have been. Sometimes, the biggest victories come right after the moments you almost gave up.